overall, as far as articulation goes with this figure, it kind of surprised me. It actually has really good posability. There is one problem I have with this figure though, as far as its articulation. So the only issue when it comes to articulation is actually the boots or the feet, whatever you want to call them. They have like no range. Obviously you can put them out, but there is no like ankle articulation or knee joint. It isn't the biggest deal. I don't think you really need that, but it does make it hard to stand at times, especially considering how small the feet are. But I mean, that is accurate to the show, so it isn't the biggest deal in the world, but I wish they would have made them maybe a tiny bit bigger just to make it easier to stand it at times, because at times he is extremely obviously top heavy, which I don't know what way they could have worked around that. Overall though, articulation is pretty good. The one other issue I think I have at times is the joints pop out a whole lot here. I don't mean like they pop off or anything like that, but it just, you can see it and it's kind of a little ugly. But I mean, I'd much rather be able to just see it and it have more range of motion than if you couldn't see it but the range of motion was hindered more because they had to find a way to hide it and make it not as visible. So again, not complaining a whole lot. Overall, articulation is definitely what I would want it to be at with Mojo Jojo. If anything, it kind of passes it, if I'm being quite honest. But yeah, let's just move on here. The detail on the figure, there isn't really much I can say. It looks straight ripped out the cartoon. The head, originally I thought the brain stuck out a bit more on Mojo Jojo as far as like in the show, but that was just me remembering incorrectly because I did look it up just to see. It very much is more just tinted like this where you actually don't see the brains in it. But the main reason I always thought that is because obviously he's always getting the shit beat out of him and his brains are always sticking out. So overall though, I do think he does look pretty good. He does look ripped straight out the cartoon. The only complaint I guess I would have, and I'm kind of nitpicking here because some images have it like this, some of them don't. The inner purple of the cape, I should say, sorry here, carries on to the backside, obviously, as you can see. But in some of the images, from what I see of his character, this blue on the shoulder pads actually continues on to the back of the cape, and only the inner side is purple. But it also depends on which images you see, since this is a cartoon. Some people drew it in different ways and stuff, so that's me really nitpicking though. Overall though, detail wise, he is really, really cool and very well detailed. I mean, you can't really put too much detail into him because he is supposed to be reminiscent of the cartoon, but overall I think they did a fine job when it comes to detail. So let's move on. The accessories that come with this figure, of course, you have the little, sorry about that, you have the little vial he comes with, which I'm assuming is Chemical X, but there isn't any actual printing on it, so it could be some other type of vial of some type of chemical. Obviously he's using for evilness. Sorry, the figure is a bit hard to stand at times. He does also come with 2 other faceplates, of course, excluding the one that he already has on. I'll put an image up of all 3 of them, obviously, on the face. Also, these are also like the Powerpuff Girls, or I should say this figure is like the Powerpuff Girl in the aspect of it's just a half face thing, where it's kind of like the SH figure arts, except they're obviously much bigger and thicker as far as plastic goes. Besides that, the head does come off when you, or the top of the cap, I guess I should say, little brain dome thing comes off when you put those faces on. And of course he does come with 2 other pairs of hands. He has his grabbing hands, which are obviously meant for the little vial of the chemical. You got these like scratching hands, and of course you have his just, I'm gonna throw down with you, fist hands. But overall, he comes with a decent amount. The cape that is on him and the shoulder pads with it do come off, but it leaves the figure joints exposed up in the top area, so there isn't much of a reason to take it off. And just as a note as well, the cape is actually wired. That's why it was standing in all those photos, obviously. But yeah, pretty cool overall. Pretty satisfied with the accessories. The only thing I wish they would have included as far as accessories is like a beat up version of the head with like the brain sticking out, especially considering they did release the Powerpuff Girls. It would have been nice to put them into a pose where they're beating the shit out of him and they have this brains leaking out much like they do in the cartoon. So that'd be my only complaint when it comes to accessories though. But yeah, let's move on. As far as scale goes, Mojo Jojo kind of has the same issue as the previous Powerpuff Girls that I reviewed have, which is his massive fucking head. Obviously, you have him here up next to a SH Figure Arts Deku and a Armor Girl, Charlotte from Infinite Stratos. And same thing of the issue with this figure of its just massive ass head. Makes it kind of hard to range with certain figures. Obviously here next to Shadow, he doesn't look horrible. That Shadow is the Jack specific one. Overall, the scale, it's not that he's too big or anything, it's just the size of his head really makes him disproportioned to many other action figures. Again, with Shadow, I mean, Shadow also has kind of a big head compared to him, but I mean, we've had him comparable to humans in movies, versus Mojo Jojo at times does obviously interact with humans in the Powerpuff Girls, but his head isn't that much larger than them in the cartoon, so it's just strange to see his head so large. Obviously you have him here up next to Spawn and he looks fine. I think the best scale for him, as far as if you really want to get him correctly, is an 8-inch figures. So obviously with the McFarlane Spawn here, he looks pretty good, and I think around that 8-inch figure scale is where he is best suited. And here we have her next to a Catra from the cartoon collections of the Mattel He-Man line, obviously, or Master of the Universe, whatever you want to call it. Obviously he is massive compared to her. I wouldn't really recommend scaling these together unless it's like you want to use some type of logic of the Powerpuff Girl universe, people are much larger than the He-Man characters. Then yeah, I think you could maybe say some type of logic like that or something. And obviously here you have him next to the, I think this is a 40th anniversary Hordak Master of the Universe figure. Obviously this is by Mattel, and he doesn't look horrible compared to him, admittedly. And this is definitely one of those figures that's not in that 8-inch scale territory, Jesus Christ. So definitely works more in line with this scale. And of course, we have him here up next to our tribal chief, Roman Reigns, and a NECA Jason Voorhees. He doesn't look horrible compared to these two figures as far as the scale goes. As far as the NECA horror figures though, if you do want to scale them with your horror figures, I would recommend putting them with your retro cloth figures, just because the retro cloths run a little larger, and he would probably just look a little better with that scale. Overall, I think this figure is worth it. My only complaints when it comes to this figure, as I mentioned in the articulation, are the feet. I wish it would have came with a beat up, a removable capsule like this, but with a more beat up version and maybe with a little bit of brain sticking out. I think would have been a cool accessory. And one other complaint that I will add, I do appreciate the fact that the cape has wire in it, but mine did start to come off at the ends over here due to the fact that they just glue it on, which isn't the biggest deal. I can always just get some glue and glue it back on, but that is something worth to mention. Overall, would I say this figure is worth it? Yes, I think it's around, I paid around $45 for it, so around that price range, I definitely say it's worth it. If you can pick this guy up, I definitely recommend it, especially if you are a Powerpuff Girl fan. This one does have the same issues with the Powerpuff Girls, of the aspect of, as I mentioned, in the scale of, he's got such a massive head that he looks kind of funny with certain scales that most people collect, which is around that 1/12 scale range. I think it's like the most popular, that and 1/6. Honestly, I think you could scale this guy with 1/6 things if you really wanted to, purely because of the big ass size of his head. But overall, this figure really is cool. I would definitely recommend it. If you are interested in buying this guy and you wanted, you know, some type of something to push you over to the edge, I would definitely say, yeah, just go ahead and get it, man. This figure is definitely worth it. Really, really cool. You know what I'm saying? You know, everyone's talking about 100 Man versus You know, one gorilla, 100 men versus freaking Mojo Jojo. Who you guys got, man? I think Mojo's got it. I'm gonna be honest. Even though he gets his ass kicked by 3 little girls, but I mean those little girls got superpowers and stuff. So I don't know. Y'all let me know in the comments though. Besides that, folks, though, I'm gonna let y'all get up out of here, and I'll see y'all next time.